of them was stopped by the police and heavily fined. You should absolutely know this. Some of these are so cringeworthy. How can somebody come up with an idea like this? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. After the last week's video when I talked about things that shock foreigners in Italy, today I've decided to look at the other side of this coin and talk about things that shock Italians, about foreigners who come to Italy and do a lot of silly things. I've already talked about common things that you should probably avoid doing here, but today I've collected some news stories, the real stories that seem absolutely absurd, too silly to be true, but they are true, and I want to share them with you because summer is coming, and if you're coming to Italy, you better know what to never do here. If you're new here, guys, I remind you to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss anything new. I would be so happy to see you join our lovely travel community. And without further ado, if you're ready, let's get to the video. Number one on my chart of silly things tourists do in Italy today is fighting for a selfie spot in front of the Trevi Fountain in Rome. Now, if you've been to Rome before, guys, you probably know that the Trevi Fountain is incredibly beautiful, but also so crowded. There are tons of people and you can actually hardly see it, let alone take a photo there, unless you probably come there at 5 a.m. or something like that. So in 2018, when a young tourist found her perfect spot to take a doubtfully original photo in front of the Trevi Fountain, she apparently crossed paths with another tourist, a much older lady who wanted to take the photo from the exact same angle. But she missed the opportunity because the younger lady was there first. And the other tourist, instead of waiting a little bit or maybe taking a photo from another angle, from another spot, decided to attack her. The fight ended up involving 8 people before the police stopped them and separated them. This is absolutely crazy. This is definitely something you should never do. But guys, can you just imagine someone fighting for a selfie spot? Let's call number 2 on our today's list the Purification Act. What I mean is that the other super famous destination in Italy is, of course, Pompeii, an ancient site perfectly preserved with tons of tourists visiting this place every year. And the site staff apparently can get somewhat busy chasing around tourists who are very inconsiderate and do silly things right there. So, a couple of years ago, a photo of 2 young tourists appeared on the socials. Well, these kind of photos appear on the socials quite often, with tourists trying to climb up the monuments in Pompeii or trying to steal something from there, like a stone or a piece of something. Silly, I know, but these things happen. Anyway, a photo of 2 tourists appeared wherein they climbed over a kind of a fountain, kind of a vase in Pompeii, and spilled water all over themselves, trying to reenact this so-called Purification Act. And then they posted it to the social media, and they thought it was funny. Spoiler alert, it's not. Actually, there are so many occasions when tourists try to do really silly things in Italy, and Venice seems to be the city that gets the most of it. I've already talked about tourists who try to go around wearing nothing but their swimsuit in Venice, or trying to swim in the canals and do many other things, potentially damaging the important historical monuments. I will leave you a link up here to watch this video where I talk more about it in more detail. However, my next silly thing that tourists do, I think number 3, is also linked to Venice. So next up is the collection of silly things, or better, silly questions, silly things that tourists say in Venice. Starting from the question like, where do I find a bus to get me to Piazza San Marco? Seriously? Have you ever seen any single bus in the center of Venice? Well, you will probably have to walk everywhere. Sorry to disappoint you, but this is the real question heard in Venice by myself. More silly questions from Venice? Well, apart from where do I find a car park in Piazza San Marco, my favorite includes, what else do I see in Venice besides San Marco? Well guys, I won't start on this right now because if I start telling you all the things that you can do and see in Venice, this video will end up being a couple of hours long. But instead, I invite you to subscribe to my Patreon page where I talk a lot about all the amazing places, all the hidden places, best hotels, best restaurants, and much, much more. Not only in Venice, but in the rest of Italy. And since summer is almost here, guys, and you're probably planning a trip to Italy this summer, you obviously can't miss Venice. And if you want to see the best rooftop bars in Venice, the best panoramic views in Venice, and the best places to see in Venice, besides San Marco, obviously, you absolutely have to check out my Patreon, and I will leave you a link in the description box. Make sure to check it out, make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss anything, because I post new travel itineraries and tips and stuff every single week. Moving on to number 4 on our chart today, and we are returning back to Rome, where over the last couple of years, not 1 but 3 tourists tried to incise their names on the walls of the Colosseum. I mean, obviously, Rome is full of Latin writings. Why not leaving behind a trace by incising your own name somewhere like the Colosseum, you know? Well, we can basically forgo the fact that it's one of the most famous landmarks in the entire world. I think this is a perfectly interesting and genius idea. Of course, and luckily all of them was stopped by the police and heavily fined by, guys, I have no words. How can somebody come up with an idea like this? Finally, my number 5 today is not exactly that silly of a thing, but more of a warning to all those who are not aware of all the peculiarities of Italy. And guys, if you want to avoid being fined or being arrested in Italy, you should absolutely know this. Last year, a tourist in Sardinia was fined for more than 1,000 euros for stealing seashells and mussels from the seashore. Well, all of the things that you can find in the natural reserves in Italy cannot be collected, cannot be taken away, cannot be taken to your home. So if you're not sure whether or not you can take a seashell or pick up a mushroom or anything, better Google it or ask the locals. You will need a special permission to collect anything from the forest or the seashore or anything or anywhere, so make sure you search for this information first. If you're not sure whether it's illegal or not, better don't do it, and thus you will avoid being fined or being arrested, which is definitely worse. Just be considerate and always do some research and make sure you know about local customs, local laws, and just some common sense to be a nice, considerate and mindful tourist. And that's it for today, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this chat and hopefully had a good laugh. Although honestly, I don't know if the majority of the things make me laugh or cry more, because some of these are so cringeworthy that definitely they make you cry way more than laugh. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment and share it with your friends so I can make more videos like this. And if you're new here, once again, I remind you to subscribe. I'd be so happy to see you here, and I'll be so happy for you to join us. Thank you guys for being here and enjoy your day.